Hello ladies and gentlemen, this video is going over the examples that we just talked about on how to calculate variance and standard deviation, but this time we're going to show you how to, or I'm going to show you how to use calculator shortcuts. So we've already done these three examples in class or in a previous video, and so what I'm going to show you today is instead of doing the long table method to solve for these three examples, we're going to show you how to do calculator shortcuts. So you will need a graphing calculator. If you do not have a graphing calculator, I have the link posted in our Google Classroom for you to find the app. I can show you really quickly. It's right here. It's posted for you to install a graphing calculator app just like mine, so you can click along with me and follow the calculator shortcuts. Hopefully you'll find that this will save you quite a bit of time when calculating the standard deviation and variance for a problem. Okay, so we're going to do three examples in this video, and of course these are the same three examples that we did in class, in our last class. So the first thing that you're going to need to get familiar with in order to start using your calculator for variance and standard deviation is the Stat button. When you go to the Stat button, there is three tabs. One is to edit any list, and then the second one, if you arrow over, which we'll get to that in a second, is how to calculate anything on your list that you've created. So when you want to type in this data set, you're going to go to Edit, and then you can enter it into list 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go in the first column that I have. So I'm going to enter this list. So I'm going to hit 10, enter, 60, enter, 50, enter, 30, enter, 40, enter, 20, enter. So that's the list that I have created. So I'm going to go back to my Stat button. It's going to stay in that list. I'm going to arrow to the right over to Calculate, and then we want the first option, which is one variation statistics. So we're going to say we want that calculation done. Yes, I want it done on list 1. If for whatever reason you wanted it done on a different list, you would have to hit second and then find the little L2 like here for second list 2, or list 3 or list 4 or whatever. You'll see those buttons as you need them. But I'm in list 1, so I'm going to arrow down to Calculate. Don't worry about the frequency list, that doesn't matter. And then it's going to give you so much data, so much data. So the first thing that you'll notice is that it gives you the mean. So the mean is 35. So if for whatever reason an example would ask you to find the mean, and if it was a really large data set, sometimes it's just easier to plug it into a calculator than trying to add it all up and divide by a certain number. So the mean was 35. And then this is the sum of all the data if you ever needed that. This is the data, each data value squared, and then the sum of that. And then this SX and this sigma x represent the standard deviation for a sample. Remember, S is standing for sample, and then the little O with a tilde at the top, or like sigma, is the standard deviation for the population. And then they also give you more stuff, like you had 6 data values, which is what n is, the minimum is 10, the quartile one, which we haven't talked about yet, but we'll get there, is 20, the median is 35, the quartile 3 is 50, and the maximum 60. So if for some reason a problem would ask you for the range, variance, and standard deviation, which they should in the homework that you're going to get assigned today, what you can do is you can go down and use the maximum, which is 60, minus the minimum, which was 10, to find the range. So the one var stats doesn't give you the range, but you can use the maximum and minimum to find that the range is 50. And then they also give you the median. They don't give you the mode, which is unfortunate. So whenever you're finding mode, you'll have to just count it yourself. And then if you notice, they only give you the standard deviation for a sample and the sigma standard deviation for the population. So when it comes to finding the variance, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to write down this number and then square it. So you'll want to write down as much as you possibly can so you get the most accurate representation for the variation. So I'm gonna write that down. So if I go over to here, I know this is going to be a little bit, but we'll try in my best interest to do this, and then I'll pull this over. So they wanted me to find the population variance. So if I've been given the population standard deviation, which is 17.0782512 8. I think that's what it was, 0782512 Okay, so how you get out of any of the stat window or stat button stuff is you hit second, quit, and now you're going to type in 17.0782512 and you're going to square that value to get the variance. So your variance, or sigma squared, is 291.67 if we round. And then of course the standard deviation, if they asked you to find that, was the one that our calculator gave us, which was 17.08. So that was example number 1. Let's try using our calculator again if we move to example number 2. So this time we're finding the population variance and standard deviation for this set of data. So if I go to my stat and I hit edit, you can delete the same list, or you could have arrowed over to list 2. I just decided to delete it. So it's 35, 45, 30, 35, 40, and 25. Those are my 6 numbers. I hit the stat button again. I arrow over to calculate, and then I go to 1 var stats. Yes, I'm in list 1. Calculate, and then I want again the population, which is going to be sigma. So I'm going to want my pen. So sigma, and my calculator is 6.454972244. And then you're going to go, because the list doesn't give you the variance, it only gives you the standard deviation, you're going to second quit, and then you're going to square that number, 6.454972244 squared. And that's going to be your variance, or your sigma squared, which if we just round, it should be 41.67. That was a gross 7, but you get the idea. I'm using my mouse today because I don't have my pen pad. Anyway, okay, so now let's look at example number 3 where they give us the sample. So I'm going to go back into my stat button. I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to delete all the data in list 1, and then I'm going to enter my new list, which is 92, enter 88, enter 80, enter 68, enter 52. I only had the 5 numbers, 92, 88, 80, 68, and 52. Perfect. Now I'm going to hit the stat button again, arrow over to calculate, hit 1 var stats. Yes, I'm still in list 1. Calculate, and then I'm looking for the sample SX standard deviation. So that means that my standard deviation for my sample was 16.2424807681. Apologize for how gross that looks, but I'm using my mouse like I said. So I'm going to punch that number into my calculator, 16.24807681 squared for the variance, and I'm going to get S squared was 264. That's really gross, but I can write that a little better for you. 264 was my 2. Okay, so I know we used to, the last couple times we used these formulas and we did everything by hand with tables, but now from here on out, since you know the calculator shortcuts, you do not, I repeat, you do not have to do this anymore. Unless you want to. If for whatever reason you prefer this method instead of trying to memorize all the calculator tricks, you can do that as well. But I just wanted to show you how to do everything on your calculator. So hopefully, like I said, this helps with your assignment. So make sure you check Google Classroom for that assignment and make sure you use the shortcuts now. If you have any questions, feel free to always email me or comment on Google Classroom. Thanks, guys.